In a rush, I hang up on Mr. Irwood without giving him the chance to respond. Wasting time isn't an option. I need to get there as soon as possible. He's a good lad. You heard him? He's a good lad. Heading downstairs, my footsteps resonate throughout the house, causing my sister to give me a bewildered look. Luckily enough, she doesn't give me an issue, goes back to using her phone. Passing through the hall, the door opens before me, revealing my parents home from their trip out. I don't have time to make conversation, so I slip past them at the doorway, both of them giving me the same bewildered look as my sister did in the process. Where are you off to, son? I'm going to the girl's house. Upon hearing that, my father contorts his face in surprise, finally leaving me with a proud smile as I set off to make my way down the street. All I should focus on is being there for Carrie, a thought which drives me as I race my way to her house. The dad's like, I'm proud of you, son. I'm proud of you. The darkness fills the path towards Carrie's house. The spare the street lamps which guide my course towards her, a long and winding one, in a metaphorical sense that is. This week has provided me with countless ups, but I guess it's time to face the downs. Knowing that Carrie is hurting makes me feel bad for myself. Something which I've told myself over and over. My emotional attachment to her is a big fault. Carrie's street is short, so it's easy enough to find her house. It saves me the time for looking at it in the darkness for ever-looming night. The adrenaline within me rushes me further towards the door of the house. It's not necessary, but I feel that controlling these emotions will be a bad thing, on top of the difficulty to do so. It's Carrie's feelings I want to prioritize right now. Getting here as soon as possible helps me do that. My knuckles face the wood of the door repeatedly as I eagerly wait for an answer. I can see movement from inside, that of Carrie's father as soon as he comes to open the door. Good evening, Seika. I won't keep you stopped for long. Carrie's room is upstairs and to the right. Keeping things brief, Mr. Elwood gives me the directions to Carrie's room, despite me already knowing them. I don't know how well it would sit with him if I told him that I'd already been up there, so I just thank him anyway. Thank you. Sparing no time, I rush up the stairs as carefully as I can. Wearing socks and trying to race up there would be really regrettable if I were to slip. Though being too cautious also seems like a bad idea as well. The only thing I should be caring about is Carrie. Following the same path I took only days ago, Carrie's bedroom door stands before me, the gateway to a lonely, downcast girl. Knock on her gently, my heart continues to pound in my chest as I wait for a response. Nothing. Out of instinct, I grasp the doorknob, but despite my best effort, it won't budge. She must have locked it. I kind of expected it, but it doesn't change the fact that she's locked herself away from the outside world, even her own father. Slow movements raise my arm once again as I realize what I have to do. For all Carrie's concerned, it could just be her father knocking on the door, hopefully hearing me as well can show her how concerned we both are. As I tap against the door once more, I make more call out to her. Carrie, it's me.
Huh?
Oh, she's shocked. A response, a small yet welcome one.
What are you doing here?
Her voice is filled with nervousness. Over the time that we spent together, I've noted that she found it easier to speak to me as each day went on. Now though, she sounds just as she did when I first met her. I came to talk to you. I want you to come to school tomorrow, Carrie. I'd abruptly managed to stop myself from adding, I've missed you. Even though it's the absolute truth, spending time without her was different, even though that's all I knew before. I know you're not feeling good, but knowing you're like this, it makes me sad. I told you we were friends, right? I want to support you.
I'm sorry, I know. You're important to me.
You don't have to apologize. I just wanted to be there for you.
I'm not sure if I'll feel like going. It's complicated.
Only a thin piece of wood separates us as we both stand in silence. A wall between us, between our feelings. I'm not sure what I should do. I'm waiting for you tomorrow, Carrie, where we normally meet. Good night, Carrie. On a whim, I turn myself away from her. It's a painful thing to do, but actions speak louder than words. Trying to break into her room wouldn't have done either of us any good, but telling her I'll wait no matter what might let her hear my feelings in a different way. I'm not sure if she responded, but as if she doesn't come out after me. It's an odd thing for me to be so familiarized with her house after only knowing her for a week, but that thought doesn't stick with me on the trip down the stairs. So, how did it go? Her father stands in the hallway, showing that he was waiting for me the entire time. I don't know, we'll just have to see. They are plain and simple words, yet they hurt me so much. Having this uncertainty between us makes me feel more bitter than anything. It's okay, Carrie is usually quite stubborn. Would you be staying for dinner? I know a meal with a 37-year-old Welsh guy isn't exactly on everyone's bucket list, but it would be impolite for me not to offer. Thank you, but my parents had brought back something for the family just as I was leaving. I'm sure it will be quite a ruckus when I get back. It's alright, I hope you enjoy your evening, Seika. Thank you for taking to her. It's okay, it was something I wanted to do. I'll be off then. Goodbye. Carrie's father sees me off with a wave as I walk out of the Earlwood household. Thinking about it now, his words don't make much sense to me. Describing Carrie as stubborn is definitely a contrast to what I know as, in fact, I would describe her as pretty compliant. I guess things are different when you're a parent. Maybe it's just how Carrie acts towards me. At least, I hope so. At least, I hope it is. The morning sunlight blinds my eyes on my walk towards school. More importantly, towards my typical rendezvous point with Carrie. As I get closer and closer, I dote upon what Carrie means to me, my relationship with her. It's a strange thing to think about, but as time goes on, things will start to make more sense to me. As the usual corner of the street enters my vision, the shy, braided girl isn't there. It would be wrong to say I didn't expect this, but part of me looked forward to seeing her adorable aura shimmer in the sunlight. Looking at my watch, it's still a bit early. Even if it was late, I would still wait for her. Being late to school doesn't concern me now. Cars pass by me one after another as the neighborhood starts to get into motion, everyone on their way to work or to drop their kids off at school. It's the usual sort of thing for a weekday. Having mine be different yesterday really showed me how much I enjoyed the mornings before going to school to be able to see her. Every day of my life had been absent of her, but meeting her really showed me how much of a wonderful person she really is. It's a shame it took a while for her to be able to show it to someone. The clock continues to circle around and around my watch, similar to the thoughts in my mind, constantly moving but never really going anywhere. 7:35 soon passes without any sign of Carrie. When agreeing to meet with her, I would have probably embraced the experience of walking down the road around this time to see her waiting for me with a mild smile on her face. One of which I can assume only quickly, I can only assume would quickly turn into a fluster as she would spot me approaching. None of that has happened though, or will happen. I can't imagine Carrie being that happy to see me. Anxiety grows within me, flowering from one spot of the most painful places, for it is embed its thorns, my heart. It's been 5 minutes now since the usual time we agreed to meet. Not particularly late by any standard, that is, any standard other than Carrie's. Every time we agreed to meet somewhere, despite it only happening on a few occasions, Carrie was always early or on time, more so for prior. Maybe my words didn't reach her after all. Glancing up from my watch one last time within my vision, I see a figure. Despite the morning sunlight hindering my view, it's clear to see that a girl is walking down the street towards me. As she approaches, I can make out her hair, neatly braided, swaying in the light autumn breeze. Her attire, all too familiar to me, consists of a tan sweater which embellishes her figure. The harp insignia on her chest is quickly covered by her arm as she adjusts the red ribbon beneath her neck, blushing slightly as she looks towards me. It's Carrie. The sight brings a smile to my face. It usually would, but this time means a lot more to me than any other of those ever could. I managed to reach out to her. She came. Her expression, however, does not match mine. She still carries a troubled expression as she advances further down the street. If one thing's for sure, she's still a lot of work to do before we can make things right, if that's even the right word. All the issues, all the problems that caused this situation are still here. Carrie is still upset.
Good morning.
Okay. Good morning, Carrie. Part of me wants to ask how she's feeling. In spite of knowing the answer, I'm fine, she will say. That's all it is. Fine. Fine is just a synonym for not good. A quick answer to get people off your case. Carrie knows how concerned I am, but preying into her feelings now would not benefit either of us. Today I want her to feel normal, to experience a day of school like we usually would. Upsetting her by getting into the subject of her parents would just make my efforts all for naught. Instead, I opt to usher her along with me to begin our day of school. I think we should get going. We're going to be late otherwise.
Okay.
I expected her to apologize for being late, but it doesn't really matter to me. Carrie and I begin our slow walk to school, despite having the clock working against us. But we're not in any rush. Dust shimmers in the air, sporadically throughout the classroom, giving the day of a sense of warmth as the autumn sunlight shines through the windows. All too much of a contrast with the bitter cold of the morning, leaving me a feeling of unease as the issues with Carrie still linger around my mind. Having left her not too long ago to get to class, we separated on a sour note, neither of us really saying anything, but our feelings were ever so similar. Ones of sadness, sorrow and general awkwardness. Getting her to come to school was one thing, but for her to open up to me again would be a completely different challenge. If I am going to make this day work, one way or another, I'll have to force her to talk to me, no matter how inconsiderate that sounds. Moving my body backwards, I stretch to alleviate the pain in my shoulders. Today is going to be long, but I've gotten through lessons before just thinking about Carrie. Thing is, there's a lot more to think about now, including my feelings. Is he going to confess? The chimes of the school bell jolt me up from the slumped position of my chair. It's lunchtime, so getting outside as soon as possible is a priority. I want to meet Carrie outside her class for once. Springing up, I grab my bag and swiftly push my items into it in a disordered manner. These are things I have no time to be concerned about. I managed to be one of the first people out of the class, but it's expected that those who sit near the front will always have the upper hand. Carrie's class isn't much of a distance away. It seems that their class is still inside. Everyone in our year group is on the same corridor, so it's unsurprising to find myself joining the usual crowd who wait outside the other classes for their friends to come out. One by one, people flock out of the classroom. The entire event is quite a scene, and it's already been about 5 minutes since the lunch bell rang. Just about how important was their lesson. In time, the sight of Carrie greets my eyes once again. She still holds the same expressionless appearance she had since this morning. It hurts to see. Hey Carrie, shall we go have lunch?
Sorry, I need to catch up with some work.
Why?
I'm going to copy a friend.
Nah, that's BS. BS already. She doesn't have any other friends. Okay, I'm sorry, I feel bad saying that. As soon as I opened my mouth, Carrie seemed to go into a state of shock. Her words sound untruthful, as if she forced out the first excuse she could think of. As depressing as it is, the reality is that I'm the only person she speaks to in the school. She wouldn't have the audacity to copy with someone within her class. If she's not ready to speak, that's fine. The entire action itself going back on what I previously decided upon earlier. Forcing her to speak to me would probably send her into another state of shock. I'll let her go for now. Alright, Carrie. I'll turn around, leaving Carrie behind me as I join the students from my class heading towards the cafeteria. Whether Carrie wanted me to object or not, I'm unsure. However, she won't be able to get away from me this easily. Letting our friendship dissipate like this isn't something I want to allow. It's not friendship anymore, it's love now. I find myself sitting in the cafeteria, clutching a sandwich in my hand. A little earlier, the guy sitting in front of me got into a fight with one of the younger students over who'd get the last beef sandwich. I'm not really sure why these things are so popular. You enjoying that sandwich? You better be. I was wounded pretty bad back there. He didn't even touch you. Can you just let me pretend for a minute? School is pretty boring, man. To be honest, he is right. Having to sit here without Carrie is quite agonizing. A distressful experience, putting my entire state of mind into a flurry. Even though yesterday I sat alone in class, being here with this guy isn't much better at all. Are you listening, mate? Sorry, can you repeat yourself? I was saying, what if they introduced lamb into the school's sandwiches? There's plenty of sheep in Wales, aren't there? I wouldn't know. I've never been. I'm not even Welsh. Neither have I, man. It's just a thought, you know. It seems that this guy's pretty invested in sandwiches. The bell rings to signal the end of the lunch, causing me to feel more depressed as I know to have to face afternoon lessons. Wow, invest in sandwiches. What a freaking boring ass thing to do. Wireless set. Investing in sandwiches. Oh my god. It's like, alright, so we got the beef sandwich here. You know, the beef sandwich is on the black market, so they cost $5 each, you know what I mean? So what, we can get the black sandwich. No, man. Jay, go crazy. While it's listening to the mundane talk of my classmate, I decided to try again with Kerry. But the idea is to walk her home. Pretty bold in itself, but I know for a fact she's not going to be compliant. Dragging her out by hand is one option, although the action seems really dodgy and disrespectful to her. In a way, it might show much effort I put into being there to support her. What could go wrong? Okay. The classroom is filled with a uniform aura of apathy as it slowly drags on towards the final few minutes. Thinking back on my idea from earlier, I need to find a way to be able to get out of before Kerry. It can't be guaranteed that a class will get let out late again, so I really don't want to miss her. Raising my hand, I eagerly wait for the teacher to know. Asking to be excused for the restroom is undoubtedly the best way to be the first one out of the class. There's about 5 minutes until the lesson ends, so there's truly a problem. Yes, Seika? Excuse me, miss. May I please excuse for a restroom break? Go ahead, Seika. It seems the teacher herself is quite apathetic towards her own lesson, sending me off in a tired and indifferent manner. I leave the classroom behind me, some classmates looking shocked after realizing I plan to get out of class before them. Turning down the corridor, I walk slowly towards Kerry's classroom. This time she's not getting away so easily. The bell rings to officially end everyone's school day. I've been waiting here for a few minutes, so in order to use up some time, I bought myself a drink. As people will begin to walk down the corridor, I toss my can in the bin and continue to wait for Kerry's class to come through the doors. Surprisingly, this time Kerry is one of the first people to get out of her class. Perhaps she wanted to prevent a repetition of events of lunch, getting out early so she could avoid me. Unfortunately for her though, as soon as the change arises, I grab her by the hand and make my way down the corridor without a pace. Her trailing behind me with an extraordinary sense of embarrassment, ones which break new boundaries.
What are you doing?
I'm walking you home.
What?
Confused, Kerry continues to stumble over her words as I take her with me down the corridor. Despite her being able to let go of my hand, she shows no restraint as she allows herself to be taken with me. As we move, I notice a few stares and smiles from various people from our year group. Even sounds of light-hearted laughter can be heard. Different to how Kerry was treated before, I can only assume that they find the events funny in a friendly manner.
Where are we going?
Going home! Your house. I told you I'm walking home, didn't I? Saying that, both of us are almost running as we pace towards the school's exit. Not a speed definable as walking, but I'm still taking her back to her house. Students move swiftly out of our way as we get outside and through the school gates on the road, with the pair of us receiving the same old looks and giggles as we finally break from the school ground. I let up my grip of Kerry's hand since the entire action still is embarrassing. More so, the fact that running out of the school had caused us both to sweat lightly. I can trust Kerry not to run off now, so we both slow down into a brisk walk as I take her on the journey back to her house. So, did you manage to catch up with your work?
What are you talking about? That was...
Yeah, we all know she lied, okay? It was pretty obvious. A flustered Kerry walks behind me as she tries her best to let out her words. The sight causes me to laugh, knowing that I've seen through her lie. It's this sort of experience that I had longed for. You're pretty cute. Saying that, Carrie ramps up her levels of befuddlement, causing me to lose myself in her adorable trance. I only told her the truth.
What? You really think so?
Really? Her face is ablaze with emotion as she looks towards me, with a hard blush filling with her hair as it entwines around her fingers.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's pretty cute. She meekly claps her right arm as we continue walking down the road in a state close to silence, neither of us deciding to continue the conversation. The real fact is that Kerry isn't feeling good inside. Trying to force her into a state of happiness would just make things worse. I'm fine with being able to come this far with her. Walking down a street lit up by the afternoon sun, this is something I've always wanted to do with Kerry. Being there for her, being with her, it brings my feelings for her into question. Oh, our steps are in sync as the two of us walk side by side down a street which is now quite familiar to me. Accompanying Kerry on the way home may have been like a brash thing to do, but the idea itself established rather hastily. However, being here with her after spending yesterday in a state of worry gives me a sense of relief. The issues that caused this are still present, however, but showing Kerry that she doesn't have to go through it alone is enough of a reason for my actions. We find ourselves idling in front of her house, neither of us really wanting to start the traditional words of farewell. Kerry takes the lead, despite being rather reserved throughout the day.
Thank you.
No,
I'm sorry about earlier.
It's alright. I don't want you to go, Kerry. I love you, Kerry. You know, not me, but like, Seika does.
I just needed some time alone to think. It's been hard recently.
I know. It's alright, Kerry. Kerry is still bearing the weight of uncertainty as she faces the chance of having to leave everything and everyone she's known behind to move away. And from what her father had told me, the distance between her and what she cherishes would be quite extraordinary. Remember, Kerry, you have people who are there for you. Even if it's the two people she's likely to be leaving behind.
I know. You've been a great friend to me.
Yep.
That's why it's hard.
With Kerry saying that, the door to her house opens wide despite neither of us reaching out for the handle. Standing before us is Kerry's father, sporting a smile which I can only describe as uneasy. Both of us know the situation Kerry is in, and both of us are trying our hardest to deal with it. I thought I might heard someone speaking outside. Come on in, Seika. You're more than welcome to stay for dinner. Mr. Elwood wastes no time trying to get me inside of his house. What I can do is assume that he has something he wants to discuss with me. I can do more than guess what he wants to talk about. The startled response coming straight from her. Kerry, still somehow shocked at her father's invitation, idles behind me as I step forward into her house. Are you coming inside, Kerry?
Yes!
It's strange that a man had to ask his own daughter if she's going to enter their own house, but it's not something I wouldn't expect happening with Kerry. Her actions are quite adorable. Dispelling that train of thought, I divert my attention back to reality, knowing that there's still a large uncertainty that hangs over us. As Mr. Elwood and I walk further through the hall, Kerry stands behind and speaks out to us.
I need to put some things away upstairs. I'll come back down in a minute.
Rushing off quickly up the stairs, Kerry leaves her father and I alone in the hallway. Well, the two of us can still go through to the dining room. You want a beer? I know you're below the Japanese drinking age, but the laws are different in my house. Yeah, sure, why not? Oh, what? He's drinking beer? Are you serious? Willingly accepting his offer, the two of us walk into the dining room, both of us knowing what's on the other's mind. Sitting down, both of us are reluctant to start the conversation. Kerry could come down at any minute. It wouldn't be pretty for her to hear us talking about her behind her back. The thought is something I have to neglect. Avoiding this conversation isn't what I'd want to do. So, has she been any better? She's still pretty upset. His voice has a certain firmness that seems unfitting for the discussion, as if the fact that Carrie is in emotional distress doesn't concern him. I think she likes you, you know. The thought of having to leave you doesn't sit well with her. What? What? Repeating my thoughts aloud, I stare blankly at Mr. Elwood, who sits in front of me with a smile. Did he just suggest Carrie likes me? In what way is he suggesting? I mean, that she's upset that she'd have to leave you. No, that part before. I'm just suggesting that Carrie has a crush on you. You know, there's times in a girl's life where they find someone they like. That's the way it is for everyone. Is this guy really telling me that his daughter fancies me? Hearing it is quite a shock, especially from him, her own father. Thoughts rush through my head as I think over my relationship with Carrie. Carrie's actions towards me have never been quite confident. She's always seemed embarrassed or shy, but that's just how I thought she normally was. To think that she likes me, it's a strange thought. Yet inside I can't deny the feeling of happiness, the feeling of wanting to be with her. You're a good kid. I've always thought about good kids deserve good news. Diverting my attention back to Mr. Elwood, he continues talking with a smile on his face. I've had some talks with you, my socialiter, I don't know, solicitor, legal stuff, right? He told me that I'm likely to win custody of Carrie. My wife isn't known to have the best mental health record. So don't feel too down, kid. Carrie is going to stay? A wave of relief washes over me, knowing that Carrie doesn't have to face her burdens. It's a pleasing thought. Even more so that I know that how Carrie feels about me. I can't even describe what either of us would be feeling if we were separated. Have you told her yet? Not yet. I wanted to wait until the time was right. Alright, what does he mean? I think that telling her would be one of the first things he'd do. For days, Carrie has been awash with agony, finding herself delusioned in reality as she faces having her life torn apart by an uncontrollable force. It's odd. Can I ask you for a favor? What? Take my daughter out on a date. What? It seems as if what is the only thing I can get around this guy, to be so full of surprises. What's even more surprising is that Carrie is still taking her time with putting her stuff away. Me and her father have been talking about for quite a while. Her father has just asked me to go on a date with her, yet she's conveniently upstairs completely unaware of what's going on. Why are you so adamant about me and Carrie? I reveal my thoughts to him. In no way, I do not want to go out with Carrie. It's just strange that her father is pushing us together. First he tells me she likes me, and now he's trying to get me to take her out. Aren't fathers supposed to be reluctant to let a guy date their daughter? Especially when they've only known each other for less than 2 weeks? It's just, Carrie's never had many friends. To know that she's managed to make one, which she even likes. I don't want her to miss the opportunity. And hey, you're not a bad kid. I have no objection to you dating her. Hearing these words, they are strange. Thoughts which were never foreign but a reality which certainly is new to me. I myself can't deny the feelings I've held for Carrie, even if they are abstract for most of the time. Now presented with this, I'm sure of what those feelings were. Love. The sound of footsteps resonate from the hallway, giving me and Mr. Elwood a clean sign to change the direction of our conversation. So, Seika, how's school? Oh, it's been great.
I'm back.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward. Oh, Carrie, sit down. I'll get dinner prepared for us. Walking out of the room, Mr. Elwood leaves me with Carrie, the girl which drew out my inner feelings. Seeing her now, sitting before me with a slight frown as she looks downwards at the table, fiddling with her braids, it makes my heart race. Mr. Elwood soon comes back into the room carrying plates topped with dinner. Carrie and I still sit in silence, each of us taking occasional glances towards the other without being directly bothered by it. As Carrie's father places a place in front of me. Places a place in front of me. It doesn't make sense. I think it means plate. The smell itself is enough to signal the quality of it. Last time his dinner was actually quite enjoyable, like Carrie said. It smells nice.
I knew you'd like his cooking.
And I always will. You can't even tell the time and the clock in the background there. It's like there's no hands. Breaking the wall between us, Carrie finally speaks up. Her face, though, still masked by sadness, possibly due to the events of what had happened the first time I tried her father's cooking. Unbeknownst to her, though, it seems things are going to work out in the end. Mr. Elwood sits at his own seat, and the three of us tuck into our meals, in between conversation at least. So, how did you two meet anyway? I don't think you ever told me, Carrie. Carrie's face is lit by embarrassment, both of us recalling the events of that day. It's funny now to think that chance could bring us so close to each other. I glance at Carrie, signing to her that she can explain everything to her father. It's a cruel thing to do considering her timidity, I don't know. Though watching her explain it is going to be cute.
Well, I dropped my bag on the way to school.
What a way to meet, huh?
My library card was left behind, and he gave it back to me.
Really? That's an odd way to meet someone. Mr. Elwood laughs as Carrie's face increasingly reddens. There are, of course, more details to it than that. If I hadn't decided to walk up to her in the cafeteria, then none of this would have happened. Carrie's face still seems sorer, making her remember how we met when she still thinks we might be leaving each other. Why hasn't he told her yet? I don't know. The ongoing stream of time flows forward, the three of us having finished our meals and the clock itself reflecting how long I've actually stayed here. I didn't even tell my family where I'd be, so they're probably going to be either angry or inquisitive. I doubt any of them would actually be worried about where I am. I think it's getting a bit late. Yeah, I wouldn't want to keep you there. I wouldn't want to keep you here for too long. It's been good to speak to you, Seiko. I think Carrie should walk you to the door. I'll say my goodbyes here. That should be a good thing to do. Okay, thanks for the meal, Mr. Elwood. My pleasure. Carrie, as startled as ever, trails after me as I walked out into the hallway of the Elwood residence towards their front door. Our eyes lock. Carrie still flared up with embarrassment and myself filled with a newfound sense of direction.